Hello there, my name is Linda, also known as Tortagialla around the internet, and I love journaling and all things stationery. So in my previous video, I was feeling very down and wanting to trash my creative bullet journal because I just did not like it. And if you haven't seen that video, feel free to go back and watch that one because I talk through my thoughts and I think it definitely reveals how much of a funk I'm in. I would definitely appreciate your feedback as well in that video. So as I'm trying to work things out for myself and in my head, even though I know that planner or journal problems, like they're not the end of the world, but these seemingly little things are probably a reflection of other things going on in life. It's easy to make snap judgments about a person or a situation you hear about, but of course what you see online, like what you know, is barely a sliver of the real person, right? So just when I'm feeling anxious and restless and I don't know what to do, or rather, I don't want to do the things that I'm supposed to do, like to be productive, rather than scrolling too much and burning through my time, I try to create something. I turn to creativity that can help with getting my hands moving and like just doing something, making something to help cope with all the feelings. So today I'm making a new journal, and no, I do not know what I will do with this journal. It is not a replacement like for the bullet journal or anything like that. I don't even know like if it'll last, what I will do with it, if I'll even start using it, but that's not really the point. It's just about the process of doing something, making something, like getting my hands moving. So I've gone through a lot of decluttering lately, and I've been journaling for many, many years. So, like the journals and the supplies that I have, they've really accumulated. Like not counting like childhood diaries and things like that, but like post college, like adult life, it's been well over 10 years of like journaling and creating things. So I have so many supplies and things stored away in boxes. I have more boxes in the attic as well that I haven't gotten to. But I have many completed journals and also many like partially used ones, and of course, lots of supplies. I also have many like bookmaking experiments because I started out like I used to make all of my creative journals by hand, and I still have a lot of those supplies stashed away. Um, I really do need to shop my own stash and declutter. So, like, in the process of slowly doing this, I found lots of like old leather journal covers and journals that I made, just all kinds of things sitting in a box that I'm not currently using. And some of them are like half made, some of them are fully made but never used. I just decided to grab a bunch of supplies and just remix them to make a new journal. It's sort of like a way to refresh something old. So I'm going through old half-finished journals and all kinds of printed papers that I have in my stash. Um, I suppose I'm making sort of like a junk journal, but it's not really found ephemera. I ended up picking just these like stack of decorative papers that I printed myself at home. They are printed designs and they're printed on both sides of the paper. The paper itself is like 120 GSM, so it's like pretty hefty and like good quality. Um, and by the way, I want to mention that this video, it's not like a true tutorial for bookmaking because I'm literally like eyeballing everything. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just doing a very, very super simple long stitch, which is like taking the string and just weaving it in and out the holes and tying a knot. So it's like nothing fancy. There's only one signature, like one set of papers in this journal. So it's totally no frills, like super simple, but it does the job and it gives you a sturdy journal in the end that you can use. It's easier than you think to make your own journal, and it's sort of like my go-to thing to do because I find it like therapeutic and just really easy to do because I've, done it since so many years ago. It's easy for me to like just go through the motions. So I sort of like chose these particular papers, and I'm sort of arranging them in like an order that is appealing to me. Obviously, it's not essential, but it's just something that's fun to do. Sort of like when you're creating junk journals, because the papers are not all like white or blank. You can sort of think about like what is the order that I want these papers to be in, because it does make a difference when you're like flipping. What do you see on the left side and what do you see on the right side? So I'm just ordering them in a way that I think is aesthetically pleasing and would cater to like sort of the style of journaling that I usually do. So I've chosen like my bunch of papers, and I originally wanted to use this old journal cover, but the papers are like just a little bit bigger, and I don't know if I want to like trim them. I sort of want to keep like that A5 size of this like stack of papers. So I sort of auditioned a bunch of other leather pieces that I have lying around. Usually I use a piece of leather glued onto like scrapbooking paper or like heavy watercolor paper, so it gives the leather a bit of stiffness, and then I use that as the cover for my journal. And I definitely have a lot of these lying around that I started making for whatever reason, like I was just trying something out, or maybe it was an experiment, maybe it like went wrong, or it's just unfinished for whatever reason. I don't even remember the origins of like all these different journal covers that I found in a box. But I just decided to look through a bunch of them and sort of try to decide like which one do I want to use. And of course, a lot of the designs are like not really something I like love. Maybe that's why I didn't use them. But I decided to use this one. The cover is actually like a pretty floral, sort of like autumn cozy feel to it. And this was actually an experiment when I tried gluing two pieces of leather together. So there's this like floral autumn like leather on the outside, and the inside is black leather. So it's definitely pretty thick, and it keeps sort of like it's shaped like a taco almost, because it's like two pieces of like leathered glue glued together. Like it's pretty hefty. But I actually do not have like real leather working tools, things that you use for cutting, or things that you use to like balance out the edges and things like that. So my journals are very unfinished and have very raggedy edges. Like I tried to round the edges, but it was all done by hand with just like regular scissors, so it's not very finished at all. So again, this is nothing fancy at all, but you'll be surprised that with just regular, office tools that you probably have at home, you can still make your own journal, and it will be sturdy enough and hold up to creating like mixed media, like all kinds of things, because I did that for many years before buying like brand name covers like Traveler's Company, or other like bound notebooks to use for journaling. So I'm taking my stack of journal papers and my leather cover and just marking where I want to punch holes. And the leather cover, it already had holes in it because I originally made it sort of like a traveler's notebook kind of style, so it had holes for the elastic. But I just decided to follow those rather than creating like punching more holes into the leather. So I'm just marking it on the paper so that I can poke holes in them and they will match up with the holes of the cover. My like just sort of real quick tip is that as long as you have at least 3 holes, then your journal will hold up all right, in my experience. I know some people do like only 2 holes, but I don't think that's enough. Your pages will move around, and so it's just not sturdy if you're going to be using it like very long term and like flipping the pages a lot. If you use 3, it will definitely be much more like settled and sturdy, and you can tighten your sewing, like the strings, you know, very well. So I basically always go with 3 holes punched, if not more. Obviously, you can have more. So I'm using an awl, which is like a little pokey thingy to basically, it is a bookmarking tool to like actually make the holes. And I decided to like poke through the cover holes that were already there as well, just to make sure they were like big enough so that it would be easier to sew. And I'm using like a tapestry needle, which is like just really giant, to, you know, sew the whole book together. But obviously there are actual bookmaking tools that you can buy if you want to use like, you know, the real thing. But if you don't have an awl to make like holes and stuff, you can also just use like a hammer and nail, like go to the garage or something and like, you know, hammer it through and like onto a piece of wood and make those holes. Like somehow, some way, as long as you've got the holes in the paper and the cover, then it'll be easy to like string it through, you know? So once I have these holes punched, I basically cut off a piece of linen string, and that is string from the hardware store. So it's not even real bookmaking materials. Normally bookmaking string, it'll be waxed because you might be sewing like a very like multiple signatures, and it's like a lot of sewing, so you don't want it to get caught. But because I normally just do this kind of thing, I don't need that. As long as your string is strong enough. Like if you hold the string with 2 hands and pull it, will it snap? You know what I mean? It should not snap. It has to be strong enough. So, and of course not super thick, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to string it through, like you'd have to make 2 big holes. But basically that's all you need. So I'm just like doing this all freehand. So I have my holes punched, I have my needle, I'm using the linen string and just like stringing them through. And it is a little tough because the holes are like not that big and my needle is like ginormous. But you know, I'm able to just like wiggle it in there and like get it through. But I'm not using clips to like hold everything together. I'm just winging it. But you can like not paper clip, but like those little clippy, like strong clips to hold like the pages and the cover together so that it stays put and it doesn't move around and slide. That way you can sew everything together and actually tighten it, and like nothing is loose, you know? Basically, if you don't use clips like I'm here and I'm sort of like, you know, finagling everything, at the end I just have to make sure I'm tightening everything like properly. You know, there are like no loose bits of the string in the inside or in between the paper and the cover. You know what I mean? Like everything has to be just like nice and neat and all together, because that means that your journal is sturdy. So I'm just stringing through, and I decided to tie the knot on the inside, but you can choose wherever you want to tie the knot. I think I just do a double knot. That's it. It's like nothing special. But some people like might want to tie the knot on the outside, so you can leave the string a little longer and add some like beads or decoration. That's like another option as well. It's up to you. It's a like super easy process and very quick to do. I don't think that making a journal is complicated, but probably because I've done it so many times. And again, I'm making very simple journals. It's nothing complicated, that it's very easy to do. But I would recommend that you try it out. If you're afraid of like wasting materials, try making like a mini journal with like scrap paper. That will help you work out the steps in the process. Then once you've done that, you can use like the final materials that you want to use. I've cut up like old bags, fabric, hardboard, like all to make like journal covers. I've used all kinds of papers and envelopes and scrapbooking paper, watercolor paper, all of that to make it, and it's very easy. So that is my journal finished. So you can see there's definitely rough edges and things like that, but I have a new journal with like pretty paper inside. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this like creative de-stress session basically, and I will be back next week with hopefully updates and something new. Would love to hear from you in the comments. What do you do when you are restless? Do you have a go-to activity or a craft that you turn to? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching this video, and if you didn't already know, I am a digital designer of printables. I'm on Ko-fi. It is an online community where you can download my exclusive printables by becoming a supporting member, and you will get access. I post there every single Friday with new printables. There's also a shop on Ko-fi with my freebies as well as paid items. And of course, you can download my totally freebie posts on my blog, tortagialla.com. I've been posting there for years, so you'll be able to find a really big archive of downloads to play with. I really appreciate your support. Thank you again, and until next time, bye.